again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. A speaking, and as you can probably guess by what's going on the screen, we're having another small pixel art series, in this case starring everyone's favorite Double Dragon villain, the Abobo. Just to get something out of the way, first of all, although this is clearly based off of Ban and Rudis' concept sprite for the River City Ransom Underground project, which just had a successful run on Kickstarter just not too long ago. Just want to make it perfectly clear, although I'm basing it off there and just drawing with the same general style that was originally set up for that game, I am in no way attached to the actual project itself, and what you're seeing here is just something that I'm strictly doing for fun. Just for my own personal amusement here, and because Abobo is quite frankly really fun to draw. For what's going to go on in this particular video set, I'm actually starting off by doing something that I kind of got an idea for after I noticed there was a pretty big similarity between Abobo and the Incredible Hulk of all things. Not to mention it really should have actually been more obvious on account that there actually is a green Abobo that does appear within Double Dragon Arcade. But on top of that, they also have at least one similar looking move. Abobo's hand clap looks a lot like Hulk's trademark thunderclap. So we're actually going to be having a bit of fun by playing with that idea, and in this first part I'm having Abobo do what would be his equivalent of the Hulk freakout, where it's pretty much his arms would end up getting spread out and gesturing as he yells angrily into the sky, and next time around I'll be doing the actual thunderclap motion itself. In terms of what needs to go on for the freakout though, first Abobo needs to I need to start stretching out Abobo's arm so it starts going out more to the side, because in this default pose, everything's still really tucked in together. So first off, starting off with the foreground arm, it's a matter of starting to bring things out. So take off the default arm, just keep it on side so it would be used for reference there, just get an idea how big it's supposed to be. And then start redrawing the arms, moving the original hand back a bit so you'll start slowly moving its way out, which I'll be doing on the background arm again, or as well in a minute. And probably this will take I think at least another good 2-3 frames in order to get the arms stretched out to a decent point. And from there, once I got the arms in relatively the position I want to have them in, then I'd be starting to make the leg adjustments, and since the actual arms are on their own separate layers, it'll be really easy in order to get the arms to move up and down, or pretty much left or right, depending, to go along with the rest of the body. It's just one of the better parts about being able to work in layers, which is why I really love using graphic scale, which is something I've probably mentioned a hell of a lot of times on all of the pixel art videos I've done so far. While I'm beginning to just kind of scroll back and forth to just see what's going on and how I'm moving the things out, I should just mention, in case you do notice at any point of this video there might be a handful of cuts where it just seems to skip the action as well as the soundtrack. That's probably because it's me purposely cropping out some parts of the video, either because they're moving a bit slower than they should. Mostly it'll be me cropping out things like adjusting the timing if I'm spending a lot of time doing that, or if there are certain things that I need to make sure are not on the screen, because unfortunately I don't keep my animation files in the most organized fashion. A lot of them are within the same general folder, and to be honest, there are a few things within those that might have an NDA or something along those lines that I just don't want to be showing on camera, you understand. So if that's the case where there's something that pops up that shouldn't pop up, I'm going to crop that part of the video on. So if you see jumps, that's the reason why. Alright, now the foreground arm is beginning to really stretch out there, and at this point it would no longer be kind of a straight on hand or straight on fist as it was for the first 2 frames. It's now time for the arm to start really bending outward. So at this point, I can't use the default arm anymore, and it makes no sense to rotate it, so realistically I'm drawing a new forearm to go with that. And subsequently there, because of the way it will be turning, where now the inside part of the hand would be more visible, that means I have to also adjust where the biceps are going to be, because realistically the arm would be turning in such a way that the bicep would be a lot more apparent. It wouldn't be on the inside track, or as it is right now, it would be actually leaning more towards the outside part. And that's going to be something I'm going to have to do with the background arm as well, although not as much to the same. Alright, at this point I'm just generally kind of working out how long the arm should be at this point, and the new forearm should be fitting there. I've mostly got that figured out, so now it's time to draw a new hand to go along with this new arm posture. In this case, it's kind of, it's a bit trickier, or at least a little different than what I normally do, on account that, realistically, people are supposed to have 4 fingers than the thumb, but, at this scale, you can really only fit 3 comfortably. So I have to draw in the 3 fingers, just generally keep an eye on where the highlight should be kept at this point. And of course, I'm going to have to add the thumb, and then once I have the general hand in place, then I move it back into where it should be. At this point, now that I think about it, I was probably thinking about it, the reason I'm also drawing a little separate there is because the forearm, not the forearm, this is the forearm hand, the background hand will also have would have a fist in a very similar motion, or a similar angle. So once I make sure I have a good fist here, I can figure out the general placement there, and I'd also be able to copy it over and just do a horizontal flip in order to have a hand that's already made and working for the background, which is why I brought it back down and making a few last tweaks, just because I wanted to really make sure I get the finger sizes kind of as defined as possible. At this point, I think I might need to make a slight change to it, one more, but let's get into place just to see. Generally, it's a pretty good fit there. So, fix the forearm to go with that a bit. And of course, now that I know it's going to be generally a working fit, I can then go and make a similar adjustment, just doing the horizontal flip in order to make the other hand work. Which, let's just move the shading there. The shading there kind of goes along with the biceps, so really I need to move the highlight there and where the shoulder indentation begins. Of course, going back and forth to make sure that it still lines up from one animation frame to the next. If this were a large thing, I could add in another edge transition frame or two, but you don't want to over-animate on something that is really a very small scale image to work with. To imagine at one point when I was doing stuff for the Street Fighter 2 NES little fan project that was being done using the Mugen engine. I was actually originally using PaintShop Pro 7 to do all my primary pixel work, which of course it had layer functions, but I really didn't use it too much at the time, to be honest. It wasn't really anywhere as sophisticated as this, and it didn't have any built-in animation work within PaintShop Pro 7 itself. So I was effectively drawing things over and then redrawing items from previous frames if I needed to have them back, and that it really made certain items really tedious to go along there. Or now I have something that's clearly more set up for pixel art animations itself, and it's really like a day and night difference. You're just gonna trust me on this one, folks. Anyway, getting back to what's going on here. This point, kind of the front arm or the foreground arm is for the most part set there. So now it's time to start making the changes to the background arm, which of course means I need to change the angle on the hands here. I'm going to end up copying the other hand over, although in hindsight being 2020, the original backhand was a bit on the small side, or there will be a noticeable size jump if I use the hand as it exactly is, or the new hand that I drew exactly as it was. So we're going to end up doing a little more resizing in a moment, once I just get the forearm into place for the new back arm. Once that's there, I can copy the other hand over and then make slight adjustments to both hands as they come out in order to make sure that everything still looks fairly level. If anything, I might have made the first hand a little too big, but it'll be a quick fix here. I can see where I can slim it down without causing too many problems. If anything, I might have to end up going back at a later time to the original idle animation I set up and giving Abobo a larger backhand or a background hand in order to help adjust things, because it really is there's a noticeable size difference between the foreground hand and the background hand now I'm looking at it again with a fresh set of eyes. Alright, now's the time to do the hand copy that I was talking about. Copy there, move back to the background layer, paste it the hand that I just put on there, and do the horizontal flip in order to get it so it's pointing in the right direction here. Let's just see how this is going to look there. Clean it up so it'll fit with the arm better. And yeah, there's a noticeable difference there, just as I was kind of afraid of, but let's see if I can get rid of the land. I know it's just way too big, so let's see if I can't slim it down a little. Realistically, it's probably a little too tall, so if I can slim it down horizontally just a bit, it might do the trick. It's still a little on the big side, but it's not overly so it still kind of fits in the general area there. Change the other hand so it goes along with it. Now they're both even there. At least visually there from this point, it still looks pretty decent. Once again, in hindsight being 2020, I would make the backhand a bit bigger. And you can't have a proper Hulk style freak out without doing some kind of a yelling gesture or just some kind of a facial expression to go with it. So first we're gonna have the teeth clenching going on there. Then we're gonna see it's kind of a tricky part since the eyebrows already have a fairly angry expression. Can we make them angrier? How can we make them kind of angrier there? Can't have them just furrow too much more because there literally isn't a space in order to do that. But we have to try something just like that in order to make this work here. Part of the way we're going to get it around the facial thing is have it so we kind of pull a shtick from the original animations for this sort of game, which is in order to emphasize that there's a change in expression or that someone's talking, basically going to have the jaw extend to a point where the head is physically getting noticeably larger. Kind of how they would do it if Alex or Kuno were ordering something from inside a shop there or in the middle of eating something, or if it was done properly, it would look like their head is actually not their head as much as their jaws are literally stretching in order to accommodate whatever is going on there. But with the Abobo, it's now I was thinking about doing an open mouth thing, but maybe no, maybe not. Let's do more of a teeth clenching thing, you know, after all. Yep, that's more like it. From here, I can probably do just a quick experiment. Just fix up the jaw a little more there, and after that, I can do a quick experiment in order to just make sure the arm shaking that I wanted to add here will work out all right. But basically, the arm shaking in this case, at this scale, it's just kind of a cop-out, really. Just there isn't too much room to work with, so we're going to do kind of an up and down motion of 1 pixel each way, which can be done cycled by pretty much. It'll be kind of a short 2-frame cycle that I would end up doing for the arms just to kind of test it out here. So let's take a quick look how that would look. Here, that's one arm. Next arm over. And just for some fun, let's just copy these frames over just to have it cycle a few times just to see how it would be there. That's probably one of the more helpful parts of having a small little preview window open on the side there. Any changes that I'm doing, I can get a general idea of how it would actually look like on the fly, which is something I couldn't originally do with some of the older fashioned stuff I used to have, such as PaintShop Pro 7 and Animation Shop. It was either Animation Shop 2 or 3 at the time. Are looking just about right there, so really now it's just a matter of selecting the appropriate frames, copying the frames itself, and then pasting them a few times there. But also as well, if you happen to find yourself where you need to do kind of just a cheap kind of shaking loop or shaking cycle there, you probably want to speed up the actual pace of the frames in order to make it so that it'll be passing by a lot quicker, because there's really not much motion. If you're doing something where it's literally moving only up or down 1 pixel each way and having that do it a bunch of times, you want to have it so it repeats it rather quickly than just really slow motion, because otherwise it just looks kind of choppy, for lack of a better term. Alright, at this point, yeah, it's not much, but the shaking bit does work. The trick worked out there. Hey, if it's good enough for Capcom to do this sort of thing, then it works here, especially in small frames. So, yep, that's just zoomed in. Yep, we're having some fun there with Abobo. Abobo is shaking his arms nice and quickly. Alright, we'll start removing the extra frames, and then after the cut, we'll begin having a bit more serious fun there. Probably do something with the head. Now that I think about it, I know just what to do with the head now. That'll actually be a really nice transition and hit what I'm trying to reference. Be right back right after the break, ladies and gentlemen.